Have you ever done something really dumb? Something that it doesn't even make sense why you did it? Today's episode, I'm going to talk about a very bloody, messy situation. There was a lot of blood and stitches were needed. So if you want to find out all about the gory details, join me now in this week's episode of Weekly Momentum. Do you ever feel like you're constantly running on a low battery? You're giving your all until you're just completely drained, like your phone. You might be great at doing, but when was the last time you truly prioritized recharging like you do with your phone? If you're tired of sprinting through your weeks only to hit a wall, this episode is your call to hit the pause button and discover the power of the reset process. I ran into the bedroom. It was about 8:15 on a Tuesday morning and managed to get the words blender and blood out of my mouth. And that was enough for my husband to sit bolt straight up in bed. He's a night owl and usually he crawls out of bed, but not this morning. He looked at my finger and said, "That doesn't look good." So off I went to urgent care. A very nice doctor took care of me, put 4 stitches into my finger, one of them across my nail. I'd managed to cut so deeply that I'd gone through the nail and through the top of my finger. And when I got home, I realized that this had been coming for a few days and that something needed to change. And I'll explain myself. The blender incident occurred because I love bulletproof coffee. Love bulletproof coffee. If you don't know what it is, it's coffee with butter and oil in it. And I also put in it marine collagen. And you might think that's totally gross, but to me, it is one of the most delicious drinks that I can have. So I've been over the years perfecting the art of creating my cup of bulletproof coffee. I've gone through probably 10 different blenders because the art of making a cup of bulletproof coffee is a little tricky because you're wrangling hot coffee and a blender and you're wanting to get it to froth up. And what would happen is the blenders would explode. They'd work for a few weeks and then the bottom part of it would melt out and explode. There'd be coffee everywhere. So finally, I figured out the best way to make my beloved bulletproof coffee was to get an immersion blender. That's the kind of blender that you put in a pot on the stove often to make soup. It would be able to withstand high temperatures, and I thought this is going to work perfectly. When I ordered my immersion blender, I decided to order a battery operated one. That way I wouldn't have to worry about cords and wires, and I could make bulletproof coffee while I was camping, which was even more exciting to me because I love camping almost as much as I love bulletproof coffee. So I bought my blender and I've been using it for a couple of months, and I was so diligent about making sure it was charged. I had a cord to charge it, and I had a spot where I would keep that cord and I would charge it before it even began to seem like it was running out of juice. So my immersion blender was primed and ready to go whenever I needed it. So this particular morning when we had the incident at the urgent care, I was making my bulletproof coffee. It went perfectly as usual. I put the stick in my cup and I make the coffee. And then I go over to the sink to wash the blender. And I did it the same way I always did it. I put it under the tap. I didn't use a sponge. I was just making sure that the water was cleaning it out, all the coffee and the butter from all the crevices and the blade and all of that, which is fine. I've done it many, many times before. Nothing went wrong at that moment. It was the next moment that was the problem. My right hand, almost like Thing from the Addams Family or Wednesday, my right hand decided to turn on the blender for some reason while my hand was inside it. And that's where everything got really messy. And of course, that's where my finger got cut. I needed stitches and there was blood everywhere. I've been so diligent about recharging my blender stick. Yet myself, not so much. I'd been running on empty for probably almost 2 weeks. It wasn't particularly that I was doing more or that I was working longer hours. What had happened was I'd noticed each day that it just wasn't feeling right, that there was something wrong. And it didn't matter which of my tools I used, which supplements I took. Every day for about 2 weeks, I'd woke up feeling depleted, like my battery was dead. And I just continued to keep forging forward. And I was really into doing Pilates. So that morning before the bulletproof coffee, I'd gone to Pilates and gotten to the point where I was so shaky, I had to stop doing some of the exercises. And those of you that know Pilates know, while it's a really good way to work out, it's not like it's spinning on a bike or really exerting yourself hiking up a really big hill or anything like that. So me to be so shaky that at the end I just had to lie on the floor should have clued me in that something was really wrong. But no, I went home and continued onwards with my day, made my bulletproof coffee, and then my brain short circuited and my right hand tried to cut off my left one. A few weeks later, I got the blood test results and found out that there was definitely some things that were wrong with my blood work that had caused this level of exhaustion. And so there was definitely a reason behind it. And I took care of it and everything was fine. But what I learned from that experience is there's these warning signs. And when we're not recharged, it's not just a matter of us needing to keep on going. I'll just get to what I like to call the light at the end of the tunnel. This is something that haunts me. I'll finish that project. I'll finish that task. I'll finish that goal. And then I'll take a break. And then I'll take care of myself. And then I'll recharge. That was something that I would tell myself all the time. But when this incident happened with the blender and my finger colliding in a not a good way, it made me realize that it was time to build recharging into my life for myself with the same degree of diligence that I recharge my damn blender stick. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Welcome to Weekly Momentum, the podcast that helps you do great work and still finish before 5 p.m. If you want to start your week with clarity, confidence, and a whole lot less chaos, you are in the right place. I'm the Get It Done Diva, and I'm here to help busy professionals do great work without playing catch up every weekend, only to feel behind again by Tuesday. If you feel like you have more things to do than seem to fit into the time you have, this show is your roadmap to change. And today, we're not just talking about planning, we're talking about pausing to power up. This episode will guide you through understanding and implementing this critical first step of what I call the 90-day reset, recharge. You'll discover how to integrate self-care, strategic downtime, and team alignment, ensuring you prevent burnout and create a genuinely effective roadmap for the next 90 days. Today, we're focusing on recharging and the reset process so that you can own your weeks before they own you. Structure with soul, a rhythm, a roadmap, and recharge is the important part of that process. The members of the Momentum Squad and I dedicate an entire week to recharging every 12 weeks. It's a very different approach than sitting down and just creating a plan and moving into the next quarter. Because if we don't hit the pause button and take that break, we risk a bloody mess or dragging everything from the last 90 days and just rinsing and repeating instead of growing. Without a recharge and a rewind, I'll talk about the rewind part in a moment, we might create our next plan from a place of desperation, fear, or burnout, which leads to a plan that doesn't truly serve us. When we recharge first, we can start that next 90-day cycle alert, ready, and able to make better choices, like don't turn on the blender when you're washing it. So what does recharge really mean? It starts with taking care of yourself. And self-care is what a lot of people think about as preempting burnout. Think of your phone. You preempt your battery running out You have chargers everywhere. You probably have habits of plugging it in. We need to apply that same proactive approach to our own recharging, to our own well being. Recharge week isn't just about what you do during that week, though. You don't just charge your phone once and then not charge it again. It's also about looking ahead at least 90 days and intentionally blocking off time to recharge. Self care. It could be a long weekend once a month, a monthly massage, or taking Fridays off so that you're recharging throughout the 90-day cycle, not just at the end of it. I was obsessed with watching a documentary series with Ewan McGregor. I recommend it. It's fun. It shows you so many different countries. And in one of the seasons of his show, The Long Way, and each one was The Long Way Down or The Long Way Up or The Long Way Home. In one of them, they were on electric motorbikes and driving all the way from Argentina to Los Angeles. And they wanted to do the entire thing on bikes. The biggest challenge was not the bikes, even though that was a challenge. They had Harley Davidson build them brand new prototypes of electric powered bikes. The problem was, where are they going to recharge? Without recharge points strategically placed along the route, especially in some places where there was no availability to them otherwise, they wouldn't be able to make the trip. And it's the same for us. We need to have those recharge points, not only boost ourselves in recharge week once a quarter, but we also need to have pit stops along the way that we've pre-paved so that we can know that we are going to recharge ourselves as we go to prevent burnout. What might this look like? Planning in advance a long weekend once a month, or a monthly massage date, or taking Fridays off. To recharge is to reevaluate the commitments that we make with ourselves around time and when we will and we won't work. It could be as simple as having boundaries around when the day starts and when it ends. Taking care of ourselves, honoring those boundaries by literally blocking it off on our calendar. Recharge also encompasses mental health, not just physical. Meditation retreats, therapy, or mindset work. Recharging is an opportunity to optimize your tools in your environment. During Recharge Week, what you might do in this particular area is you might make sure that your subscriptions is set up to your Brain FM app, or that you have some meditations downloaded so that they're ready when you need them and you have them on your phone. Just creating and setting up winning environments around recharging will make it more likely that you're going to do it. If it's hard, it's going to be something that you're going to say, oh, I can't do this right now. I don't have time. So you need to pre-pave it. You need to create a landing strip for you to recharge that has as little resistance as possible. So during Recharge Week, spending a week once every 12 weeks, taking care of these little things so that you're set up. It's like before you go on a trip, making sure that you have all the things that you need that make you feel good so that you're ready to go. When we think about recharging in this week of recharging, you might also think about clearing your tools, cleaning them, oiling things so they work better, like the keyboard on your computer or old photos that are on your computer that are slowing things down. What can you do with the tools that you're using that will allow them to work better, to recharge them as you step into the next 90-day cycle? And recharging, it's not just about you. It's also about your team. You want to be setting the tone. You want to be helping your team, your VA, and your clients recharge as well. Remind them of the core values and the why behind your business. Get everybody aligned and energized before you dive into new 90-day goals. The idea of spending a week recharging is to plan your recharging activities in the beginning of the 90-day cycle so that you can enjoy genuine downtime throughout the quarter without guilt. One of the first ways that I recharge is I look at my calendar and I look ahead. I look at the 90 days ahead and a little bit beyond. And what I can do then is I can see where there are speed bumps, where there are deliverables that are due, where there are holidays, which in some 90-day cycles, there's a lot more holidays than others that I'll need to navigate around. I can set myself up. It doesn't have to be that every week is the same, but if I can see the terrain ahead and see that there are a lot of holidays coming up, I can plan accordingly on the weeks before, which may be a little bit busier, and then enjoy time off while it's slower traditionally for me with my clients. So when I take the time to do my recharge, this is one of the main things that I do is really look ahead. Looking ahead for me is the equivalent of learning to swim. Because with our time, as I've talked about in other episodes, if we're not ahead, it's like we're learning to swim while we're drowning. Navigating a busy week and a ton of deadlines while it's happening is almost impossible. And what you're going to end up with is a bloody hand if you're lucky, right? So you can get out ahead of things and take care of yourself. Another thing that you want to look at, and was something that would have prevented my bloody misfortune, was in your recharge week, you can look at preventative care, medical appointments, blood work that needs doing, check-ins with your doctor, so that you're staying on top of these things and keeping yourself running like a well-oiled machine. You don't have to wait until you burn out or break down to take care of yourself. And recharge week is when you get to remind yourself of just that. When you do this, when you take the time to look ahead and plan time off, you can actually enjoy your time off more. Instead of it being through exhaustion and burnout and you just having to take time off, you can have intentional rest and it doesn't become lost time or a slow time in your business. To make recharging a little bit more of a concrete habit and more fun, I often will create a recharge challenge for the members of the Momentum Squad. It's similar to a scavenger hunt where you have a list of activities or items that you need to go and find. It's 25 micro activities designed to boost your energy and help you recharge. Like one of them might be sharing a recipe, a healthy recipe, or writing in a gratitude journal, taking a nature walk, or doing a digital detox. These little micro activities make recharging fun and achievable. My challenge to my members during Recharge Week is to do at least 10 of them because it's about these little tiny habits and experimenting and finding new ones that we can use so that we can then tap into them over the rest of the 90-day cycle. Create a ritual that fills you up first so that you can create a better, more powerful 90-day plan and prevent burnout in the 90 days ahead. Do you have some days where you feel like you're just absolutely crushing it? Like almost feel high some days when I feel like I'm so in the zone. And then there's other days where it just feels like complete chaos, like I'm in a brain fog and I'm cutting off my hand. The problem, if you're like me and many of the professionals that I coach, is that you're doing a lot, but you're not being consistent. And I know that you've heard all about working smarter, not harder, but how do you do that? In the last episode, I talked about something called the success equation. Vision plus passion plus consistent action equals success. There's also the opposite of that, which is something that happens a lot to busy professionals. It's called the spin cycle, where we're stuck in this vicious cycle. We go and we binge and we take a lot of action. Then we burn out and feel stuck. Then we take more action because we're frustrated, we're not making progress. And then we get exhausted. It just creates this consistent cycle of just burning out and not getting as far ahead as we'd like to. I went through this cycle more times than I could count, and it's one of the reasons that I came up with the 90-day reset. I realized that as professionals, especially with longer term, bigger goals, we need to reset every 90 days Typically, what people do instead of resetting is they just forge ahead marathon after marathon. Maybe if you even set 90-day goals and you break it down a little bit, what you're doing is you're forging forward through one 90-day period, and then you just forge right into the next one. It's like going from one marathon to the next, but without taking the time to recharge yourself before you go. And so this recharge idea is a really important part of the 90-day reset process. When you take these pit stops, these little breaks, which all athletes do when they want to be in high performance mode, and taking breaks and recharging so that they can have peak performance in the other times. And consistency in both recharging and in your actions is going to be what's going to be the key for you to be able to really perform at your best and get everything that you need to get done without burning out and breaking down in the process. The 90-day reset is the framework that I've developed. It's a fresh way to achieve really big results without burning out by structuring your year into manageable, focused 90-day cycles. 90 days is like the sweet spot. It's long enough for having real results, but short enough to stay really motivated and on track. So instead of hustling nonstop, you create a habit. You create a structured 3-step rhythm for this 90-day reset. And it all starts with step 1, which is recharge. Recharge is making rest a strategy. High performers in all fields build in time for strategic recharging. We do it with our phones, but we don't do it with ourselves. Recharge is time to reset and recharge you, your team, your resources. One of the hardest things for myself personally and many of the professionals that I coach to begin to adapt as a habit is doing nothing. Nothing feels frivolous. It feels like a waste of time when we have so many ideas, so many people who need and want things from us, and so much that we could be doing. To simply do nothing feels like a waste. And yet it's entirely the opposite. And one of my members, Mu Larsen, was the person who taught me the most about nothing. I first met Mary, or Moo, at a South Pasadena chamber business mixer. It was at a new local children's dentist. It had just opened, and 50 eager business owners showed up, and we were all squished in between dentist chairs and hygienist tools and drills, and we were exchanging business cards, and it was quick and clumsy conversations. And I began making the rounds, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw this beautiful woman striding around the perimeter of the room with this baby swaddled across her chest. And over the next 60 minutes, as I mixed and mingled, her energy kept kind of tugging on me. I chatted with the insurance salesman, the local dignitaries, and real estate agents until finally I made my way through the crowd and my path was cleared to talk to this woman who'd so captivated my attention. "Hello, my name's Marianne," I introduced myself, and our relationship began. My most devoted student, my greatest teacher, and a loyal and loving friend had entered my life. Moo had just opened her acupuncture practice, and she showed up at every single South Pasadena chamber event with her white coat on. I invited her to be part of my new Women in Business group. She told me, with love and coolness, "I say no to everything at first." Then she smiled, and she said, "Maybe later I will say yes. So don't stop asking." So I didn't. And after 6 months of asking, Moo joined our Women in Business group. Moo showed up to our meetings religiously. Over the next 9 years, she may say no to things at first, but when she did say yes, it was strong, solid, powerful, consistent. Yes. It's a yes with a whole being. It's a yes that invited you into her life and brings with it a level of dedication, commitment, and loyalty that I've experienced only a few times in my life. This is why it's important for her to say no first. She needs to honor the space to be great because it's so sacred to her. This was the first lesson of many that Mu taught me. Mu was the only person who referred to me simply as coach. There was a reverence, a humor, and a respect in her using that term with me. She always had a cheeky twinkle in her eyes. Yes, coach. Thank you, coach. When I asked Mu about her name, she gave me that mischievous smile of hers and let me know what it meant: nothingness or non existence. She then shared with me that in the context of Zen Buddhism, Mu is used as a way of answering a question beyond yes or no, to find an answer that lies beyond binary thinking. Mu is a way of telling someone to think outside of the box or to look at a problem differently. Suddenly, she made so much more sense to me. Mu loved systems. She loved tools. And she immediately embraced the lessons and the tools that I introduced to the ladies during our monthly meetings. After every meeting, usually in a text or an email, she would reach out with appreciation for what she'd learned. She'd appreciate the space I created and the way that I'd shown up. She challenged me too. Mu was the first one to let me know if a tool didn't work quite right or if it was something was missing. And if she was missing a piece of her puzzle, she would keep letting me know about it and nudging me until I listened and brought her the exact piece that she needed. This is how Mu shaped and embodied the community of the Momentum Squad. Over 9 years that she was a part of it, she asked for what she needed relentlessly until she understood it. And then she'd express the most sincere, loving, and beautiful words of gratitude. She wanted upgrades to the planner I created for the group, so I added them. I began offering retreats, but Mu wanted more of them. And of course, she had immense gratitude and joy to share with me once she fondly received all of her requests. Those retreats were when we began to bring recharging to the community, and they created some of the most precious memories of my life. Women coming together, bunking together, cooking, eating together, laughing as we splashed in the pool, celebrating the shared experience of creating, growing, and sometimes letting go of a business. Mu would always share a room at the retreats with Joanna, one of the members, who she liked to call Lady Vargas. One time they were both sick. They were sniffling and sleeping through most of the retreat. But even so, I would hear Joanna, loud, roaring laughter just echoing through the house. She was recharging her soul with humor, with videos, and it somehow beautifully complemented Mu's quieter personality. Mu lost her battle with cancer in the summer of 2019, and I'm now grateful to have that room that Mu and Joanna shared as my home office and my meditation space. I've adorned the walls with pictures of all the ladies. It feels so right to have Mu with me there as I work, meditate, recharge, reminding me how powerful it can be to say no first, and then maybe later yes, to ask for what you want and to express heartfelt gratitude often. I learned to challenge myself to find an answer beyond yes and no, and how deeply precious nothing can be. As you step into this week, how can you bring in nothingness and begin to embrace and understand that it is not a waste of time, that it is an important part of the reset process, that it will allow you to step into the next great thing that's coming, and that it is equally important to have nothing as important as planning, and that the nothingness is the space that allows our goals, our dreams, our vision to come real. Just in case you're new to Weekly Momentum, I just want to take a moment to give you a really quick overview of what to expect and what it is and how to get the most out of this really powerful habit. Weekly Momentum is a recharge moment in itself. It's your chance to pause before you plan and to set the tone for the week. And it's a simple 4-step flow. It gives you breathing room, reduces stress, and creates a calmer, more intentional week. It's more than just planning. It's a moment to look inward and connect with yourself, to celebrate and learn from last week, and then step powerfully into the new one. It's very much in itself like the recharge and reset process for the 90 days, but we do it each week. It's a new opportunity to upgrade, create change, and shift from busyness and burnout and overwhelm to time freedom, to finishing before 5 and doing great work. Now, each time you repeat the weekly momentum flow, you're beginning to build a habit that creates a structure of clarity and momentum for the week ahead. It's 4 steps that I've been sharing with my members of the Momentum Squad and my clients to help them with their weekly flow for over 20 years. Step 1 is rewind. This is where we celebrate wins, note what worked, what didn't, and why, and upgrade your operating system with do-overs. This step speeds up the growth cycle so that you upgrade your operating system, and every week this helps you honor the agreements that you're making to yourself so you can stay consistent from week to week and move towards your 90-day goals and your bigger plans. Now, in Japanese, it's called hansei. It's a time for self-reflection when we look back at the last week. What I want to encourage you to do is to do hansei, to do that reflection for the last 90 days as well, instead of just forging forward and setting goals. Hansei is the secret to continuous improvement. Instead of forcing results, you rewind, you learn, you refine. And I've built Hansei, the art of rewinding, into everything I do with the members of the Momentum Squad. We use it in the 90-day reset. We also use it at the Ignite retreat every year, as well as in the weekly momentum process, so that you are always looking at what is working, what's not, and why. On the weekly worksheet and the weekly planning pages, you're going to find 7 questions and a couple of prompts to help you gather data from the last week. Did you know what you wanted? Did you say it clearly? Did you do what you said? I want you to think about a few other questions as we're thinking about recharging. So let's look at how last week specifically you recharged. Did you feel rushed and pushed, or did you have enough space last week for yourself? What small moments of pause or self-care had you integrated into your week last week? Did you engage in any quick recharging activities like those on the Recharge Challenge I shared with you a minute ago? Even if it was just 2 minutes or 3 minutes here and there. Did you make agreements with yourself about self-care or downtime? Did you honor your boundaries so that you could take care of yourself last week? What worked well in terms of preventing burnout or feeling replenished last week? What didn't work and why? What did you do to take care of your mental health? Maintain your tools or charge up your team last week? Now, all of these questions will help you to answer the do-over questions, which are an important part of step 1. How can you do over how you recharge yourself based on your answers from those questions? What are the do-overs there? What would you do differently? Step 2 is realign. This is where we take a moment to look at the bigger picture, reconnect with what you want, and remind yourself of your annual and your 90-day goals. And this step of realigning gets you off the hamster wheel of busyness and helps you to focus on what really matters this week. It helps you tune in so that you know what you want and you can direct your energy and your time and unleash a whole new level of momentum. Step 3, plan. This is where you formally say, this is what I want this week. Instead of writing a never-ending to-do list or keeping everything in your head, you make clear agreements with yourself by setting a weekly goal, and you use your weekly top 10 to prioritize so that everything's not equally important. Now that you've started to understand a little bit more about recharging, let's create a week that's going to support you with this. Your weekly goal can be directly tied to recharging and rest. So think about what is your one weekly goal this week that would really support you in recharging or team alignment before you step into the next 90-day cycle, maybe preparing for future downtime. Your weekly goal might be to block out all planned time off for the rest of the year. In this step, you also want to look at how can you incorporate small daily recharging activities into your weekly top 10. Think about the micro activities like I shared in the scavenger hunt, such as taking a nature walk, do a digital detox for one day or one evening, write in your gratitude journal, or prepare a healthy energy boosting recipe. Define specific self-care items mental health check-ins, or maintaining and taking care of your tools in your weekly top 10 this week to ensure that they're prioritized and not just left to chance. So as you approach creating this weekly top 10, I want you to approach it so that you're creating a renewed energy and more clarity for yourself, setting yourself up for that recharge this week and building it into your weekly top 10. Step 4, plug it in. This step in the flow is where you get your head in the game, update your calendar to reflect what matters most for you this week. And this is going to give you the opportunity to really create that space to recharge and to do great work, to honor the agreements that you make with yourself, and to go into the next 90-day cycle with a clear head. Where can you proactively block off recharge days or extended time off in your next 90 days on the calendar? Might be a long weekend once a month, a 4-hour work day instead of an 8-hour, or even a full Friday off. What self-care habits can you establish for this next 90 days? It's going to create a ripple effect beyond just this week when you take the time to do this. Consider planning going to dedicated retreats or events like the Ignite retreat that I offer in January. Opportunities for a deeper recharge and strategic planning are really helpful. Look at your calendar. How much busyness is already scheduled in your week ahead? What's already locked in? Can you do anything, especially this week, to create more space? When will you spend time on your one weekly goal? Block it off on your calendar now. This is where you make your recharge intentions more concrete. Literally block off your recharge days or self-care hours in your Google Calendar or physical planner right now. Treat them as non-negotiables, like appointments with yourself. If you plan a long weekend, block it off completely in your Google Calendar so no one can book that time. Review your calendar not just for this week, but for the next 90 days. Where can you proactively create genuine downtime, not straddling kind of working and kind of not working at the same time, especially towards the year end or the holidays? Now, if you need to, now's also a good time to communicate those planned recharge times and boundaries to your team. That might be one of your weekly top 10 this week so that you can manage everybody's expectations and reinforce your commitment to taking care of yourself and recharging while still taking care of everyone else. By plugging in your recharge intentions, you stop drowning in busyness and start swimming in momentum. You're making a visual commitment to yourself and your well-being so that you don't decide with your right hand to cut off your left hand when you're just too burnt out to think clearly. Now, don't forget, you can grab the weekly planning pages for free for busy professionals if you want to plan your week with me. It has the exact worksheets that you can use that I use with the Momentum Squad and the Inner Circle, including fillable templates and short step-by-step videos. I also encourage you to create your own recharge scavenger hunt. Create a list of 25 different small little micro actions or activities that you could do that you can find moments of rest and replenishment. You don't have to do all 25, but make the list. Sometimes we just need that list to look at, and then we can know what we need to do to recharge. Sometimes making that list is the hardest part. Once we have a list of options, it's like having a full pantry. We can open up the pantry and we can easily figure out what we want to eat. So this week, maybe have as your weekly one thing or one of the items on your weekly top 10 to make that list of 25 items. And if you're a member of the Momentum Squad, for sure, you're going to be doing the scavenger hunt too. So let's make sure that you download your scavenger hunt list so that you can take care of yourself. As you're moving through all of this, remember the momentum code. Know what you want, say what you want, do what you say. You can apply this to recharging too. You can do great work and you can still finish before 5. You can open up space in your calendar, say no to what drains you, keep your evenings free for family, rest, or absolutely nothing and spend more time pre-paving the future instead of drowning in the now. Now, if you want to keep building momentum, make sure you download the weekly planning pages for busy professionals or join the Momentum Squad and get some extra accountability and support from me each week. Thanks for listening to this week's episode. I'll meet you here every Sunday for weekly momentum.